Good evening. It is 6:30 and we are back in regular session. We went into executive session at 5:30 and we are on item 3. Take any necessary or appropriate action on matters posted for consideration in closed executive session. I believe we have a motion, Mayor Pro Tem Nelson.
Madam Mayor, I move to approve a resolution that increases the city manager's salary by $5,000, approves an additional contribution to his retirement account from February, and authorize the mayor to sign an amendment to said agreement.
I have a motion from Mayor Pro Tem Nelson and a second from Councilmember Jackson. Is there any further discussion? Madam Secretary, if you will call the roll.
Mayor Pro Tem Nelson?
Yes.
Councilmember Jackson?
Yes.
Councilmember Crouch?
Yes.
Councilmember Rogers?
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously, and would want the public to know that we did go through a detailed review of the things that City Manager Hoffman has accomplished in a year. It's a year that has gone by quickly. There are a number of improvements that each of us has recognized. And Council, let's give Mr. Hoffman a round of applause. Enjoy working with you and looking forward to the next year.
Thank you very much.
All right, it is time for item number 4, and I'm going to call our regular session to order. And I have to read this little sentence. The City of Bastrop reserves the right to reconvene, recess, or realign the regular session or called executive session or order of business at any time prior to adjournment. It is 6:35. We have a full dais, and I'm calling the regular meeting to order. At this time, if you would please stand, we will be saying the pledge to both flags. If you would please remain standing, we have Grady Chandler here for our invocation.
First, I want to say it's an honor to be able to say that I'm a part of the city, and I appreciate every one of you that serve our city, and highly appreciate that, and all the people that are in our city. Father, I just want to come before the throne of grace tonight, Lord, because, oh, do we need it. If we ever needed grace and mercy, Lord, and direction, God, we need it right now. And, Lord, we know that you're the head of all things, and you are the King of kings and the Lord of lords. And we trust you, Lord, in transactions and everything that we do or say. And Lord, we praise your name, for we know that you say, enter into thy gates with thanksgiving and into thy courts with praise. And Lord, we want to do that tonight. For what a privilege it is to be able to serve the one living God. And Lord, we praise you, Lord, for the people, the hard work that they put into it, and those that follow, those that are workers of this city as well. And Lord, thank you for the people here in this city that make this city what it is. And Lord, we praise you and give you glory and honor and thanksgiving, and we pray it in Jesus' name. Amen. God bless all of you.
Thank you, Chaplain Chandler. You can all be seated. And I know we were a little bit late getting in. If anyone's wanting to speak on any item on the agenda or for citizens' comments, we'll give you a few more minutes if you'll turn in the request card. They're located in the back. If you'll turn them in to the secretary, you'll need that if you want to speak tonight. All right, Colin, we are on item 7A, and I have just a couple of things before we dig into my mayor's report. One, I don't have any pictures because I had to turn in my mayor's report before we did it, but had fun at the homecoming parade on Saturday. It was nice to do that wonderful tradition in Bastrop again. So we'll have some pictures about that later, and I know some other council members may have some comments on our homecoming parade. It is the weirdest year ever when it comes to rain. Have we ever had an August this green? It's Crazyville. But in between the rain, it is mega dry, and there is still fire potential, and I just want everyone to be aware of that. Whether you're barbecuing outside, there's probably some leaves and stuff that needs to be cleaned away from your house. Just be aware of the fire potential. You'll see later on that it's the 10-year anniversary of the complex fire is coming up, and that was on September 4th. So thankfully, we're in a much better situation this year than we were back in 2011, but just be aware of that. And then one of the things that happens when you're mayor is sometimes folks are unhappy and you get to hear about that, and every once in a while somebody will take the time to send an email and write something nice. This woman wrote me on Saturday morning, and kind of mid-morning. I forwarded it and really didn't expect to hear anything until Monday. Immediately got an answer from both the city manager and the police chief, and the police chief went and met with her on Monday. So Monday evening she wrote, "Thank you so much for taking time out of your day, not only to come out here, but also to respond to this situation. I moved here from Houston 7 years ago, and I have so many great things to say about Bastrop Police and the Bastrop community. Y'all do a wonderful job helping others, and I am so grateful for that." Chief Nagy received that email, and I just wanted to share that with council. And I wrote this lady an email and told her how much I appreciated it. It's real easy when you're frustrated to write an email, and sometimes we say to ourselves, "Oh, I'm going to tell that person thank you," but taking the time to send a thank you email, not everybody does. So I was very, very appreciative of that. All right, Colin, let's jump into my report. In the upper left-hand side, you will see the wheeled sports plaza. We don't call it the skate park because it's in the Fisherman's Park, and then that's a park, and that gets confusing. It's the wheeled sports plaza. You'll see the neat thing that the communications team put together, our very own Bastrop, Texas, City of Bastrop skateboard, and then you'll see some of the folks already using it right after we cut the ribbon, and there were several of us were there, and it was great to see such a wide variety of folks. It was a long time in the making, and it was just an excellent Friday afternoon, and they fall, take a licking, and keep on ticking. They're a pretty resilient kind of crowd. Below that, you will see that the city manager and I spent some time with the Bastrop Police Teen Academy. It's in the lower left, Colin. And a number of kids, they asked us some great questions. We enjoyed visiting them. Sergeant Sanford had them all come up and ask me who my favorite police officer was because he told them that I would say him. So they were definitely having a good time. Just above that, you'll see a picture of me with Jennifer Leisure, who is the president of the Bastrop County Historic Society, and Nicole de Guzman, who is the new director. That was taken at her welcome reception. We're so glad to have her on board and as a part of all of our team. And then next to that, you'll see a picture that I took on the Saturday that ended the summer reading program. And the librarian, Bonnie Pearson, said they all had a whaley good time. I know, but she did. They had a fantastic scavenger hunt, and people were turning in the number of books that they read and all that. And what they're holding up is a copy of the scavenger hunt. And at the end of the scavenger hunt, you got an ice cream sandwich. And people were pretty fired up about getting those ice cream sandwiches. So our library team does just an outstanding job. And then, Colin, if you go to the upper right-hand corner, we're going to go down the right side. That is a picture of me with Ora B. Perkins Moore at her birthday. I talked about that at the last council meeting and promised you a picture. And there's Miss Moore with her 90 years old and the most vivacious person I've been around in a very long time. Next to that, you'll see our very own Chief Rosales, who presented at the Chamber Luncheon. He did an excellent job. Just below that, you'll see Chick-fil-A did a reopening reopening. If you are a patron of Chick-fil-A, you'll know that they did a canopy and put some fans in for the people that were standing outside, so that reopened, and they have opened their dining room again. So we did a reopening, and that was a fun afternoon. And then just below that, you'll see at the Children's Advocacy Center, they used to be in the little yellow house here on Chestnut, and now they are next door to Bassano's in the where Coffee Dog in that area, and they've got just a wonderful new facility that they are enjoying very much. So I was glad to be a part of that. Colin, if you go to the next page, I did most everything on this sheet, and we can go to the upcoming events. Just a couple to point out. This Thursday, the Chamber is having their Alive After 5. Council want to make sure that you've got on your calendar that a week from today, on the 17th, we will have our first budget workshop, and then depending on what we're able to complete that night, we may or may not have a workshop on the following day, on the 18th, and that's why I put if needed. You'll see those reflected on your calendar. And I'm going to also make you aware that on August 23rd, we'll be doing the applicant interviews that we do each year with the folks who are applying for our boards and commissions. And I've been asked to be a part of a Rotary scholarship presentation on the 24th ahead of our council meeting. So that's all I have. Councilmember Crouch, what have you got for us this evening?
Well, kudos for the skate park. Again, I live real close to it, and there's just kids down there all the time. So it's I'm so glad that got to happen. Some of the other things I've done, I'm continuing to try to find some parcels of land so we can have some group soccer fields and baseball fields that are all in one location and easy to get to for the city, county, and the school district to use, and I've located a couple of things, so I just need to share all the information I'm getting now with Mr. Hoffman. I've gotten some really good biking information as well from one of the ex-Austin City Council persons. Is a member of Bike Austin, and they have some great ideas that we can implement here to make some safe biking lanes for Bastrop. And so I've already shared some of that information with Mr. Hoffman, and I'm going to follow up with that and hopefully get us some safe routes, short routes around town to go with our sidewalks. And I've been working on that for a couple of months. Some signage for downtown. Since the new Highway 71 bridges are getting close to being completion, there are several signage programs that TxDOT encourages and sponsors. One is called TOD, it's Tourist Oriented Business Signing, and I think that's the one that may be able to help us the most. It's blue signs. Here, everybody sees the blue signs with a little, I'll use Buc-ee's as an example, little Buc-ee's head, turn right. There's some special designated signs, though, that will call out your restaurant or downtown businesses that would be great to put before a turnoff to get to downtown, and then TxDOT sponsors that, and then the vendors or businesses pay the fee for it. But it would be great, especially with the new orientation that we're going to have for the bridges, if people know where to get off to get to downtown or get to some of these places. And we're going to start a builders group. It will be tied in with the Greater Austin Home Builders Association. Don't have any definite dates for that. I've reached out to two of the people that run that organization, and I think that will help the local builders and subcontractors with their issues and problems, and just have us come together as a group, and I think that would be very helpful for us. And that's it.
Thank you, Councilmember Crouch. Councilmember Jackson?
Well, as you mentioned, the homecoming celebration was really a lot of fun over the weekend. It was actually not as hot as I thought it was going to be, and I was glad to celebrate my 50th class reunion, and I saw people that I hadn't seen in several years, and we had a really good time as we rode through the parade and everything, and so that was good. As we've mentioned about the wheeled sports plaza, or the skate park as we call it, it was a great opening, and people are definitely utilizing the facility, and I happened to be there, I mean, with several other council members, and it made the front page of our local paper, and it also, on Sunday, was in the Metro, on the front page of Metro. There was a picture, I caught this person skating, or I was on a bicycle on one and a skateboard on the other, and it made the paper, and I was glad for that, because it brought out the fact that we were on board, so they said, pretty much so, and it was really good to see that, to get some local coverage and then some in Austin as well. The question that I've had people ask me about, well, first of all, we also finished out Parks and Recreation Month, which we did celebrate with the proclamation and everything. That finished up with the skate park opening and everything. There was some citizens that have asked me about the COVID task force and what's happening, if there was going to be some updates from the city on that. And I know that that's in the works because of all the things that are happening with the resurgence of the variant and all. And so I've told them that in the future we'll have some updates with that. They said they didn't see anything on the agendas about it, and I said, well, it's coming, so don't worry about it. It'll happen soon. But everything was good. I think that we really have had a great summer with the recreation program and some of the other things that are going on in town, and the citizens, I think, are getting much healthier, and I am going to join the recreation program as well, so I can become healthy too.
Thank you, Councilmember Jackson. Mayor Pro Tem Nelson?
Yeah, real quick, Madam Mayor, I want to reiterate the outstanding presentation by Sheila Lowe and Chief Rosales at the Chamber luncheon relative to emergency preparedness, and tell everybody they can go onto the city's website to get a lot of information about how to prepare for an emergency. As everybody knows, we've had several emergencies occur over the past 10 years, fire and flood and what all, and there's some outstanding information that's been prepared there. One other thing is, last week I attended on behalf of the city and this council one of the boards that I've been appointed to, the Capital Area Rural Transportation Planning Organization. We had an outstanding presentation from the very well qualified district engineer out of Austin for our TxDOT district. And his emphasis was on Interstate 35, and he was quickly reminded and was very receptive to the fact that we appreciate the work on 35, but there's a lot of work that needs to be done on 71, both east and west of Austin. Don't leave us out, and he is extraordinarily receptive to listening to what our concerns are, and will do whatever he can to accelerate some of the projects we've been hearing about for years and years, so stay tuned.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Nelson. Councilmember Rogers?
Yes, Madam Mayor, we have our Main Street meeting tomorrow, and I did go see that Willy Wonka's Jr. at the Opera House, and that was just amazing. The Opera House is just doing an amazing job.
Just in 2 weeks, they put that
my
together.
gosh, there's so many Oompa Loompas. I just thought that was so amazing. I fit in right there, you know. So I'll let you know about Main Street on our next meeting.
Excellent. Councilmember Peterson?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I just want to say that you guys look great in the homecoming parade. I wasn't able to make it, but whoever shot that film on the and put it on Facebook, I was watching it live. Even though I was sitting at Baylor Scott and White, but I still felt as though I was in Bastrop. So it was a great job. You guys look good on the city float. I got to give that to you.
Thank you, Councilmember Peterson. And that, hats off to Colin. He was the one
Colin,
that was
you're a
live
bad
streaming.
man. Got to give it to you. And one other thing, Mayor, I've been watching a few things around the city, especially dealing with public works. Those guys are doing an exceptional job. They really, really are. They are getting rid of some. They're doing a great job with the drainage, and I'm glad to see some of these drainage projects kick off, and public works is taking care of that. And I'm very proud to see that happen. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilmember Peterson. Appreciate all that. All right, Council, we're moving on to item 7C, City Manager's Report. Mr. Hoffman.
Thank you, Council, and thank you, Mr. Peterson, for the shout out to the Public Works Department. Really, really appreciate that. So I'll continue with the praise towards the Bastrop Police Department. And Mayor, thank you for reading that letter from that person from over the weekend. Appreciate that. A couple of other accolades. This one goes back a few days, a couple of Saturdays ago. Both Sergeant Hamrick and Officer Reitmeyer came upon a young girl at Fisherman's Park who had tripped over her dog and broke her arm, and they kind of MacGyvered it and used a clipboard to make a splint. And so that was pretty cool. Not putting Chief Andreas Rosales out of work or anything, but that was a good Johnny on the spot approach. Other officer accolades. Officer Alvarado received a nice note. I don't think these happens all the time, from District Attorney Gertz regarding Officer Alvarado's testimony in a high-profile case that made a difference. So we appreciate the District Attorney for taking the time to send that accolade. And Council, you may be aware there's been quite a bit of social media commentary over the last few days about several burglaries of vehicles that happened in two of our neighborhoods, the Pecan Park on the other side of Walmart, a fairly new subdivision, and Riverside Grove. A lot of commentary on Facebook and on the Nextdoor platforms. Good news is we have 3 suspects, and one of them has been identified. We do think there's a strong indication that these incidents are connected, and we feel pretty good that we're going to make an arrest here pretty soon. And congratulations to Chief and his team for responding as quickly as they did to that. And thanks to the neighbors who make their doorbell cameras available in situations like that. That's very, very helpful. Go ahead, Colin. And here are some photos that you made mention of the homecoming parade. Councilmember Jackson, that's the class of 71. They're on the top left, and then the top middle is the city's float. Really cool. And then we had Cedar Creek Band and some Bastrop Bears and horse riding and bikes. All very nice. We will meet again next week in budget workshop. Mayor Schrader made mention of that, and potentially on Wednesday the 18th. Go ahead, Colin. And then we will meet in 2 weeks in regular session. Council, one of the items on the agenda is the annual review, and if you're ready to do it, action on the financial management policies. There are a few amendments we're suggesting be made. One of those amendments is to add a donations policy to give some structure to how the city goes about receiving and acknowledging donations, gifts to the city. We're also adding language to the financial management policy that clarifies and updates the hotel motel fund reserve policy. We've had some recent discussion about that. And also on the financial management policy, we're looking to provide some policy direction language regarding the transfer from the electric fund to the general fund, to define what that transfer is all about and to put a policy limit on it. So we'll send that out and have you take a look at it. And if you're ready to vote, we can vote on it on August the 24th. On the purchasing policy, we're suggesting a change there too. We'll be combining our credit card policy into the purchasing policy. I think that makes sense. I don't think we're making any suggested changes to investment policy. I don't think the state legislature did anything to that this session. And these last two things are tentative. It depends on what we receive from the applicant, but we may ask council to consider the public improvement district agreement with Veridian. And again, there's a development being proposed in northern Bastrop County, They're hoping to create a municipal utility district, and they want to give an initial presentation to council. And then on August 30th, I mentioned earlier, we have a joint meeting with Visit Bastrop. And then on September 14th, we'll ask you to consider a public hearing and first reading on the budget and tax rates. And then the very next week, we'll ask you to consider second reading of the budget and tax rates, and as appropriate, action on the water and wastewater rates and charges. And that'll be contingent upon your decisions in the budget. Thank you, Council.
Council, any questions for the city manager? All right. We don't have any work session briefings, and before we go to the staff reports, just in case there's anybody that the third quarter report has a ton of great information, but it's going to take a little while. Madam Secretary, do we have anyone signed up for citizen comments?
No, Mayor.
All right, we are done with citizen comments. We are on item 9A, receive presentation on fiscal year 21 third quarter report. We're going to be hearing from Assistant City Manager Gleason. Council, you had a hard copy at your desk, and in the packet for the public, there was a link to the presentation so you can see it online. Ms. Gleason.
Yes, good evening, Madam Mayor, City Council, and City Manager. It is my pleasure to stand before you this evening to present on our third ever quarterly report, and it is for fiscal year 21, quarter 3. I want to just take a moment quickly, number one, to again recognize the CSET team. It is a really passionate group of hardworking city staff who put this report together every quarter, and I am just constantly in awe of the amount of work that they put in and the passion that they put towards their projects. And secondly, I also wanted to take a moment to recognize our Community Impact Manager, Candace Butts. It was always the idea that that position would create the quarterly report for all of you, and so she led that CSET team, and this is her first quarterly report, and she just, I believe, knocked it out of the park. So I wanted to take a moment to recognize her great job. So we had a lot of feedback on our May 14th pre-budget planning session meeting, and we to get as much of that feedback in this report as possible. I am proud of the way that the team stepped up and pivoted and were agile in their reporting. So again, this is a work in progress. This is a new thing for the city of Bastrop. So if there's other items you want to see, things you think that are unnecessary, just let us know. This will be a living document that will continue to change until it is as efficient and effective as possible. So we will pretty quickly go through the capital improvement projects. Our first project, the wheeled sports complex, it is open, and we are just finishing up small last-minute items such as signage, seating, and a little bit of landscaping. Our wastewater...
Ms. Gleason?
Sure.
I guess, first off, do you want us to ask you questions as you go, or do you want us to wait till the end?
Whatever you would prefer, Matt.
On the wheeled sports plaza, I know you mentioned signage and seating, so that takes care of benches. Are we also going to put some trash cans close? The skaters asked me about that. The trash and wheels are not a good combination, and I didn't know if we could get a couple trash cans by there.
Absolutely.
And there was also a request for a water fountain, and I don't know if we have funds for that. I was told that water was close, and I think you know, it doesn't have to be a fancy water fountain, but a way that they can fill up water bottles or whatever. I don't know if that was in the plans, and if it wasn't in the plans, if that was something that could be considered.
Happy to look into it to see what it takes to get a water fountain out by the skate park. It's a great idea.
Council, any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Wastewater treatment plant number 3. We are currently working on the oxidation ditch, the influent, and the admin building. This project is on schedule, and we are excited for the pictures we're seeing. The progress just seems to be jumping right along. West Side Collection System. On this project, they are laying pipe and installing manholes. So this project is also on schedule and doing well.
So on this one, I'm on page 21 of the report, and for phase 1 and 2, it says 7 million, and for fiscal year 21 spent or encumbered, it has none to date in phase 1, but it says that, so I don't know how that compares to the engineering cost and the construction cost that's there. Have we just not spent it yet? I don't understand why there's numbers and none in the same chart. Tracy's coming behind you.
Good.
Phase 1 is the only thing we bid out, so we haven't bid out for phase 2. It's not, the only thing we've done is the engineering. So phase 1 is the only thing that we've encumbered and actually
Which was why I
gotten a
was surprised it
construction
said
bid.
none, because I would have thought at least the engineering would have been encumbered.
Yeah, the engineering's kind of all included in the west side. We haven't, there's no way to split out the engineering for phase 1 and 2. We just haven't bid out phase 2's project. That's why it says
Well, the
none.
chart says that phase 1 engineering was $875,901.
It's the west side collections engineering. They're not splitting it out by phase 1 and phase 2.
Okay,
Not
so
the
maybe the chart
engineering
needs to
part.
be cleaned up, because that's not what the chart says. Okay, thank you.
This is our transfer lift station and force main. The city went back to KSA and asked them to review an alternate route for cost savings. The change is expected to save the city almost $2 million, which we're excited about. So the city has received an updated estimate from KSA, and it is currently in review. River Loop project, we had the bid opening in June. We had the contract in July, and we are expecting construction to start this month. As you know, this project's been a long time coming, so we are really excited for that loop to get complete. We have our FM20 elevated storage tank and ground storage tank. This project is substantially complete. We did have late delivery of this project, so the city is working through liquidated damages with the contractor. We have our water plant. This is in design currently. The well construction is expected to start before the end of the year. All right, we'll move on to our 9 focus areas. Our first focus area, communication. I just wanted to point out some rather telling data here. In the third quarter, we had 117,000 hits to our website, which I think is an indicator that it's a good resource for information for our public. So we will continue to work on improving that and making it more user-friendly to provide that information. Our highest hit page was our library page this quarter. We had almost 150 posts, with 37 of them being emergency related. We also, I think one of the most interesting things for me was the amount of public meetings viewed. So we had a huge jump in people watching our public meetings, and that is only through Facebook. So we can't check analytics on the TV station. We tried. So that is only on Facebook, our public meetings being watched. And I think that's just a testament of, number one, we've had a little bit of an increase in meetings this time of year. So I think we'll see a little bit of that next quarter as well as we've had some topics on the agendas that have been really had a lot of public engagement around. So I think we just have a lot of new people watching. So that is a lot of minutes viewed. Also really proud of the marketing around recreation. I feel like this quarter we were able to kind of get our feet under us on this new recreation program marketing, and really proud of the results the team came up with together. Also really proud to report out next quarter some additional things that we're trying to see how those work. So the marketing around that initiative reached 50,000. We are working through the sign code community education. The big thing is finalizing the website. So we wanted to make sure that our planning website was a great source of information, that we could push people to it and they could find what they needed easily, and it was easy to understand and straightforward, and provided them the ability to get in contact with someone if they had questions. So we're finalizing that website this week. And we're going to start with really working on emails through the Main Street District. And that will be ongoing. That's not a one-time thing. We are going to keep pushing out information and ensuring that our Main Street District knows that we're here as a resource, and we're going to constantly be pushing them to that website. Check out the website. Check on this. It will, number one, be a large overview of the changes, but also go over really specific items of things that we see non-compliant in the Main Street District. We are finishing up our one-page education guide, again, which will push people to the website, and that will be something that we can hold on to and send to our Main Street District and provide links to on our postcard series, and also take with us when we go on our personal touches to those known non-compliant businesses. Community safety. When it comes to community safety, I think the big thing here is that huge jump in building inspections. And that is really based on our new home builds. And so our new home builds sometimes require several inspections. So that is really our new homes from the last 3 or 4 months. It is important to notice that a lot of inspections can be done on the same day at the same time, so they can check off several boxes, but that is really a testament to that. And so it's worked very well contracting that out, because again, we're able to roll that up or roll that back depending on demand. Mygov implementation.
Before you go to economic vitality, on page 37, on the crime statistics, the assaults are up. And I didn't know if Chief Nagy had, if we know what's causing that. Is it summertime and kids out of school, or if there's some sort of public service announcement kind of stuff we need to be doing if it's in one particular area. But going from 4 to 14 in just one quarter, I just don't think about us having assault as an issue. So I wanted to know if you had any recommendations, a way that council could help you.
I think that this is going to be just that we are kind of coming out of COVID, and we are starting to, the more people are getting on our roadways and we're traveling, that's what's going to be contributed to.
Okay. Well, I do see that it was same as the quarter the year before, so
Yeah.
it's just
I think we're
that
just
many
kind of,
people being together.
we're leveling out.
Okay. All right. I didn't know if there was a theme or something that we needed to be aware of. Okay. Thank you, Chief.
All right, economic vitality, Mygov implementation. The team has worked hard on this. So the first thing they did is Viviana created some great educational videos. They're on our planning website. If you haven't seen them, she's created 2 so far, and 2 on kind of our most requested items for help. Number 1, creating a collaborator account, and number 2, using our internal request manager. So we are going to continue to build out those videos, so that way we have more resources for our community. We had conversations on the city's podcast Overheard at City Hall. In fact, Viviana and Jennifer were the inaugural episode. So they had a great conversation about city planning and building Bastrop, Mygov. So if you haven't seen it, you can check it out both on our website and on our social media. We had our contractor forum, and this is something that we're going to turn into a monthly lunch and learn event, and each one will kind of be geared towards different industries that use our Mygov to help, number one, in our process, but number two, to help educate our community on how to use Mygov. We are also working on exploring reporting capabilities. So one of the subsets of our CSET team is our Mygov team. And so that is something that a lot of their focus is going towards, is in our different modules, how to better use the reporting features, and then working with our programmers at Mygov to make sure that we are capturing the type of data we need to ensure that we're being efficient and effective. We also created our Mygov user guide. We have that both in print and digital.
Mayor Pro Tem Nelson?
Ms. Gleason, on the reporting capabilities or non-capabilities of the Mygov, is it part of the specific package we have, or is there a limitation to their overall program?
Do we need to buy another module? That's what
Yeah,
you're asking, right? Or are
that's my
we
concern.
asking an apple to be an orange?
Because we're putting a lot of emphasis on Mygov, and if suddenly if we change a horse in midstream, well, we're all going to get wet, and I don't want that.
Yeah, so it's a limitation of the system. So there are certain reports we can get out that's what we're providing now, but some of that level of detail is just not something they generate, and it would be something that we would probably have to custom request and pay for if they're able to do that. So
I would encourage you to look at a system that would be least cumbersome to people who are learning to use it, both as staff-wise as well as our constituents and potential developers. I really hope y'all give this, well, I know y'all will, so I thought I'd bring it up. Thank you.
I think it's important to note, too, that it's not that that level of detail can't be accessed. It's just we can't press a button and it print a pretty report. So it's more of a manual going in and seeing what's open and then reading through the notes to see why and making sure that things aren't getting stale. We had a wonderful Juneteenth celebration and Summer in the City. Originally, Summer in the City was set to be 2 weeks prior to Juneteenth, and we were having a pretty nasty weather forecast. And so we reached out to the Juneteenth celebration and said, do you have any thoughts on us combining our events and creating one huge celebration in downtown? And they were super excited, and so we moved forward with that, combining of events. It was a really long and hot day, but it was a really great day to be a Bastropian. And so we ended up having the City of Bastrop touch a truck. We had 16 trucks. So thank you to Chief Rosales. He was the leader on that, the organizer for load in and load out. And also thank you to Curtis and the Public Works team, because they really showed up. I also wouldn't tell this to anyone else, but I think they were the kiddos' favorite. So we'll make sure that we continue doing Touch a Truck. I think the staff really, really enjoyed it. We also had, we worked with our community support groups. And so we had them come out and they brought children's activities and they were able to hand out literature and talk about their missions with the community. Visit Bastrop was there handing out ice pops, so their booth was very popular. The Lost Pines Art Center was there doing 2 huge community projects that the kiddos got to participate in. We had Art Institute doing tours. We had the library, which you see in the second picture there. They were there promoting their summer reading program and community adventure. We had the museum, who is always a great partner, who steps up to not only help push out our messaging and support our event, but provide our public restrooms. We had the chamber, who provided their building for our volunteers. So it was a nice, cool reprieve. And when we showed up, they had snacks and cold water. So they were incredible hosts. We appreciate them. And then we, of course, partnered with all of our community stakeholders, as well as Visit Bastrop and the Chamber, to promote the event. So it was a really fun day. And I think the staff and our community enjoyed it. And so thank you to our volunteers and our Main Street Board who worked so hard on this, and thank you to the Juneteenth Committee for their hard work and their openness to combining with Summer in the City for this year's event. I wanted to include this because I'm really proud of the finance team on this. So our audit outcome was delivered for our comprehensive annual financial report and single audit report. And we got an unmodified audit opinion with no recommendations for improvement. The second part of that is no management letter issued. So that is the best opinion you can receive. And it's really, I think, a testament to council's commitment to transparency and fiscal responsibility. So I'm really proud of how hard finance has worked to get to this point. Managed growth, as we know, this has quickly become one of our most important focus areas in this chapter of Bastrop's history. We had in Q3 138 new home construction permits submitted, 133 issued. Home remodeling, we had 20 and 20 issued. New commercial construction, 2 and 1 issued. Demolition, 2 issued, and then 11 plats. So that is a 96% issue rate. That's a new piece of data that was requested of us. So we have always given you all the submitted, but we now gave you the issued. And so we also wanted to further break down those 6 remaining permits. Of those, we had 1 that required additional development processes, and that was a new home build that didn't realize they were in the floodplain, so they had to go back and make some changes because of that. We had 3 that were incomplete. So we have 1 that is currently still working on turning in their items. We have 1 who actually decided to move to a different commercial location. And we have 1 who, when they turned in their application, they didn't upload anything. They didn't turn in anything. So their planning staff is working with them on getting everything they need. We had 1 withdrawn because they weren't able to secure their financing. And we have 1 marked in review, but once it got to review, it was actually additional development processes. So it was another one that was in the floodplain.
On the plats, there were 11 issued in Q3, and there's 11 in or Q2 and Q3, or I guess we're comparing year over year.
Yes, ma'am.
So where are those plats? Are they approved? Are they in process? Are they? And you don't have to, if you want to send us an update later, you can. Okay.
That was my question. Thank you for asking it.
Thank you, Councilmember.
We'll make sure to get you an update on that and ensure that that box is complete next time. Organizational excellence. So I really just wanted to take a moment to kind of point out all the employee training that's going on. I think it's one of the things that really sets our staff apart and adds positively to our corporate culture is we do enormous amount of employee training for excellence and to provide our employees educational opportunities. So IT went through a training specifically around library IT. We had several advanced Mygov trainings with city staff, including the city secretary's office, the police department, special events, and then Viviana was kind enough to sit down with our new community impact manager and teach her the whole system, so she got a private training. So we did that this quarter. We had a laserfish records management training, and that is the system that archives all of our records. That was done for, we had several employees from every city department that utilizes laserfish attend. We had communications attend the government social media conference, which was digital. We had lots of public works trainings, 124 hours worth, and they really focused on safety and equipment operation. We had police training around de-escalation, leadership, and handling citizen complaints. And we had 300 hours of fire training around victim rescue, vent, enter, isolate techniques, and determining if structures are suitable for entry.
Question.
Sure.
Here I am over here. I just want to ask the manager, I was asked this question the other day, and I wasn't sure. Do we have a safety manager, or it's up to each department head to take care of that?
Yeah, thank you, sir. We don't have a person with the title or anywhere in there, just job description, safety manager. I guess you could say we have a distributed approach to that. And that's a function of the operations of each city department, and that's the way our safety manual approaches it. Yes, sir.
And while we're interrupted, and I'm sorry I did this while you're at Organizational Excellence, but I want to give a shout out to Ms. Bills and the planning organization. The numbers that you provided on page 56 were extremely helpful. And I was very glad to see the 18 platting exemptions, because people freak out when they find out they don't have a legal lot. And there's a difference between owning property by meets and bounds and having platted property. And I just really appreciate the fact that if 18 platting exemptions were done, that means that you guys are working with our residents and helping them get things taken care of. And I also want to point out that I was super happy to see on page 55 that additional platting exemptions is something that you guys are planning on vetting with the Planning and Zoning Commission. So just kudos for that. You had skipped on to Organizational Excellence, but I had highlighted all over page 56 and 57. So just appreciate that information being in the packet.
That was actually an addition requested by Mayor Pro Tem Nelson. It is data that is provided to our Planning and Zoning Commission each month when they meet, and he found it very impressive. I think his exact words were, we want everyone to know the amount of hard work going on, and so thank you for that suggestion. We were glad to include it.
Well, and particularly when it can be, we can reuse information and it's not additional burden on staff. That's kudos, Mayor Pro Tem Nelson.
I think it's vitally important that we share the message, we spread the gospel that business is good in the city of Bastrop. So thank you.
Mygov Request Manager data. So our Mygov Request Manager, that is where both city staff and our community can go in and report problems, request assistance. So on our internal request manager, and you can find a breakdown of all those requests. There are many, 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 many. They are on page 56 of your packet. We had in Q3, 733 requests. 708 of those were completed, leaving 25 active. Some of the top things that people do: water, wastewater orders, BP&L service orders, pre-development or pre-application meetings, tall weeds and grass, building maintenance, and that's public building maintenance, street repair, light pole repair, public works departmental assistance, and open records requests. And so the active 25, number one, a lot of them were just because of the way the quarter fell. And number two is because requests stay active in our system when we're having ongoing conversations. So it's not until the task is completely complete that it's closed out. But I will note that our CSET Mygov team, this is one of the things they own. So every department that has a Mygov module has a seat on our CSET Mygov team. And so that is the place where we make sure the departments are owning their modules and ensuring that any active requests are moving along as quickly as they should be. So that is being actively monitored. I wanted to point out the usage data for the Bastrop Public Library. As y'all know, I'm just constantly amazed by the great services they provide our community. We had in Q3 nearly 20,000 books checked out, which is crazy. Our ebooks, about 4,000 a quarter. Number of visitors to the library, almost 15,000 visitors, which is wonderful. We recently put in a new system that is a more exact counter. So we actually know our busiest days, our busiest times of days. It is tracking everybody that comes through that door. So it allows us to make some decisions about times open, times closed, when to staff up, when to staff down. So we're excited about that. We had 147 new library cards to non-residents, and that huge jump is because of the summer reading program, which was really successful, and we'll talk more about next quarterly report. We had 201 renewed library cards to non-residents, which I think is a testament to their belief that they are getting an excellent service. We had 109 new library cards to city residents and 118 renewed. So the revenue for our non-resident membership was a little bit over $8,000. As always, the library had a really busy quarter with Storytime. Storytime is back with a vengeance. We are getting anywhere between 50 to 75 kiddos each Storytime, which is a lot of little sticky children. So we've had to double and triple up librarians for Storytime for help wrangling all of them. We have our Teen Thursdays that remained really popular. And every Thursday is different. They had a water fight. They do art. They have a lot of fun. We have our Teen Dungeons and Dragons Club. We had our summer reading Tales and Tells. Madam Mayor, I'm very glad that you used the whaley joke. If you hadn't, I would have. We have our Crafters Anonymous that meet monthly. Coffee with Catherine, which is a newer program that started during COVID virtually, but we have now brought it in person. And it is a safe space for ladies to get together and just kind of talk about the good and the bad and the ugly. I've heard the most difficult part of it is after an hour, Catherine leaves because she has to run the library, but the ladies stay for several hours. So they are having a lot of fun, and I have often thought maybe I should go join them today. Storytime with the PD, we've done a few times this summer, and that is always the most popular of our story times. I have requested our library director, perhaps, let's see how many our PD gets first. Let's do a story time with a fire person. So that would be fun. Our Teen Bag-O Books is going well. And of course, our Story Walk. We, not long ago, upgraded our Story Walk boards, and they are just beautiful and well-branded, and everyone is still enjoying them. We get a ton of pictures of little ones reading our storyboards. Recreation programming. So this is the second quarter of our recreation program, which feels crazy because it feels like a lifetime now, but really proud of all of the hard work the team has put into the recreation program and how quickly it's been able to grow. So this was the first quarter we took in revenue, and we took in just over $8,000. So we are really proud of the way that that is growing and the word is getting out. We have about 18 adult exercise classes a week, and those range from cardio to HIIT to yoga. We have a great Bollywood dance class that's fun. So those are going well. 6 days a week we have the open gym with the gym equipment. We've done youth track. We do youth nature hikes monthly. We did a water safety program at the state park pool. That was very popular, and we got some amazing feedback on that. Discover Days was 3 weeks of 3-day tiny little camps, and they covered everything from, they had a weather person come, they talk about gardening, they talked about airplanes and parachutes, so that was fun. Our recreation consultant, Miss Terry Moore, her granddaughter came in town and went to Discovery Days, and so we loved. In the afternoon, Terry would go pick her up, and she'd come to the office, and she'd tell us absolutely everything they did that day. So that was a lot of fun. We have, Terry worked very hard and got a partnership with our Bastrop Senior Center, and they are now offering classes out of that space as well. And your membership gets you a discount at the state park pool, which was also something Terry worked really hard to get a contract on. This is just some of the fun stuff. So this quarter we did 3 film permits, and one of them was a feature film, which is always exciting. We did 5 special event permits, and we did just over 1,000 hours of volunteer work, which is incredible. We often say that we couldn't do what we do without our volunteers, and I think to see how it's not just one area where people volunteer, it is across our city departments. So we are really thankful for them. And lastly, unique environment. I just wanted to take a minute to talk about Bird Lovers Weekend. So the Bird City Coalition put on their Bird Lovers Weekend event, and it was a great weekend downtown. They did brews and bird songs. They did face painting, sidewalk chalk. The master gardeners came out, and they planted little plants in eggshells. They had a great bird hat contest, which was a lot of fun. So there was also a ton of bird art. So thank you to the Bird City Coalition for their passion in making sure people become aware that Bastrop is a birder paradise. We are thankful for their hard work.
And not everybody can pull off that hat like Carrie Fossler did.
I think no one but Carrie can pull off that hat.
Carrie did it well.
That hat was actually made by Desiree of Black and White Interiors. So I think if you go into her shop on Main Street, you can see her incredible style. And I think that hat is just a testament to her great style.
All right, great job. Ms. Gleason, council, any questions for Ms. Gleason? Councilmember Peterson?
Yes, just a quick question. You went over recreation. I didn't see any pickleball in there.
You're correct. We actually did have both a youth and adult pickleball clinic. So it's interesting. It was kind of in the beginning of the quarter, but I actually just over the weekend had someone reach out saying, when's that pickleball? So we'll have to bring it back. It is wildly popular.
Are we doing a recreation Facebook page, or can they opt in for emails to get, if you're a recreation member, that you can get special emails? Because I know you guys communicate a lot of things, and that's a way to kind of focus in on maybe on the members.
So we actually are in the process, we're creating a Facebook group. And so what happens is someone who's interested in recreation can join the group, and then we can really message a lot in that group because people are there because they want to know only about recreation. And then we're also going to create, we collect emails because we use the Push Play platform. And so we're going to start doing a monthly email that will just talk about programming this month and opportunities. So we are hoping that will allow us to better communicate.
Yeah, the classes are great, and the people participating are very, very thankful that the city's providing that service. Mayor Pro Tem Nelson?
I just can't let the opportunity pass to commend the city manager, the staff, and Ms. Moore for taking something from nothing and creating an outstanding program. I mean, this was not on our radar at this time last year, and being able to do something now is kudos.
Yeah, and the coming with such a small investment to be able to make the senior center worthy was really appreciated that. Councilmember Jackson?
I just want to say ditto to that, because the recreation program is, as I said earlier, has really taken off quite a bit, and the Discovery program, I was really glad to see that we were able to host it at the Kerr Community Center, and that was really something that we were really pleased, because we had a lot of people that enjoyed that, and hopefully we'll be doing more cooperative programming there too.
All right, great job. Thank you very much. Council, we've been sitting here since 5:30. Do we need a break, or we good? All right, we're moving on. Going to the consent agenda. Council, we have 3 items on the consent agenda. Does anyone want anything pulled from the consent agenda? Does anyone in the audience want anything pulled from the consent agenda? Madam Secretary, if you will please read the consent agenda.
The consent agenda reads as follows. Item 11A, consider action to approve City Council minutes from the July 27, 2021 regular meeting. Item 11B, consider action to approve resolution number R-2021-74 of the City Council of the City of Bastrop, Texas, approving an interlocal agreement to support 911 geographic information system database management with Bastrop County, including addressing and boundary updates as attached in Exhibit A, authorizing the city manager to execute all necessary documents, providing for a repealing clause, and establishing an effective date. Item 11C, consider action to approve resolution number R-2021-75 of the City Council of the City of Bastrop, Texas, approving a public improvement plan agreement with Hunt Communities Bastrop LLC for the Colony Mud 1F Section 1 as attached in Exhibit A, authorizing the city manager to execute all necessary documents, providing for a repealing clause, and establishing an effective date. This concludes the consent agenda.
Thank you, Madam Secretary.
I'd like to move for approval for the consent agenda.
A motion to approve from Councilmember Jackson.
Second.
And a second from Councilmember Peterson. Madam Secretary, if you'll call the roll.
Councilmember Jackson?
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson?
Yes.
Councilmember Crouch?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Nelson?
Yes.
Councilmember Rogers?
Yes.
Thank you, Council. The consent agenda stands approved. Council, I want to go back to item 9A because I forgot to ask a question that I was going to ask, and that is this. You will recall that at our last council meeting, the community assets did their updates. What would you think about having their information in the quarterly report so we all quarterly updates at the same time? Anybody opposed to that? Good idea, bad idea? Anybody opposed? I think that might, and if there's a reason that they want to present, we're happy to hear from them. We can ask questions, but that might help put all of that information in the same place. And I would include Visit Bastrop and the EDC in that as well. Councilmember Rogers?
I would suggest that maybe we get them to report it in a certain way so all of them look, so when you're going through it, it looks consistent.
That'd be excellent.
And, because that way, you can only see what they're doing if it looks the same, each person.
That would be
And
great.
maybe a format for them to fill out instead of trying to make it
I think we've
creative.
included with the new contract an actual quarterly report.
I thought we were
like a
thinking about it when we
format,
spoke before. Thank you.
Yeah, that would be great, and then that would, then we would always know where to find it. That might be helpful. Okay. All right. Thank you for your indulgence, Council. All right, we are going to items for individual consideration. We're on item 12A, consider action to approve resolution number R-2021-76 of the City Council of the City of Bastrop, Texas, acknowledging proposed tax rate, no new revenue tax rate, and voter approval tax rate for fiscal year 2021-2022, calling for a public hearing and authorizing a public notice. Ms. Waldron.
Yes, good evening. So first thing, before I start the PowerPoint, the notice of public hearing that was put in your packet is the sample of the notice. The voter approval tax rate that's on your page was 0.6100. That's not correct. I've actually talked with the tax assessor collector who did the calculations. We found an error. The actual amount is 0.5956 is what you will see tonight. So just wanted to say that. And also, the public notice will depend on the decision that's made tonight as to what proposed rate will be on there. The no new revenue rate and the vote approval rate will be the same.
So what's the new rate? I'm sorry.
0.5956.
There was just a math error, and I caught it and got a hold of her, and she sent me a new certified, so we're good. So tonight we're talking about the proposed tax rate and talking about public notice that has to be put out there in order to schedule the public hearing on the tax rate. And so just a highlight of some things I did want to go over. So when we did the fiscal 21 tax rate calculations, the amount that we were using for taxable value was almost 968 million. Those same properties now, when we get the supplement from the appraisal district, is 982 million. So just putting that in perspective, anything that's under protest, when we're going to calculate tax rate, we use 80%. That's just a standard formula that is kind of industry standard, and so we never know how those properties are going to flush out, or there's also court ordered adjustments that go into play with all of these numbers. So on the fiscal 22, the 2021 appraisal values, you can see we went from 982 million to 1,043,000,000. Same properties, so that's how much the appraised value has gone up on those same properties. We're looking at 51.5 million for new value this year. That's a lot. That's one of the highest years I've seen thus far for us, which puts us at 1,094,000 for the taxable value. So the proposed rate that we are proposing is going to generate $727,000. This is just a breakout of how that falls, how much is going to be in M&O, how much is going to be in the INS fund, and how much is being generated from existing properties versus the new properties. And so you can kind of see a breakdown of that. Definitions: no new revenue, same properties taxed both years. The voter approval rate is the no new tax rate plus 3.5%. We also get the advantage of having an increment rate, which I will discuss a little bit in the next slide. But if we don't always take our 3.5% and we don't always go up to the voter approval, there's an increment rate that can be carried forward, and we're actually benefiting from that a little bit this year, or could benefit. The proposed tax rate is the rate that you would propose and that the public hearing would be on. That is the highest. If you set a proposed tax rate, that's the highest tax rate that we can step out with. We can't go over that once you've proposed it and put your notice out. And then the adopted tax rate is the rate that we would adopt on September 14th in the first reading. So the tax rates, I know this was in the staff report, it's just comparing where we are from last year to this year. The no new revenue, because of the appraisals on the existing property, it pushed that tax rate down, of course. We were at 0.56, we're now at 0.54. The proposed tax rate that we have based the proposed budget on is the same nominal rate we had last year. It's the 0.5794. The voter approval rate is the 0.5956. The no new revenue, sorry, I have a tickle. And no new tax rate M&O is the 0.36, which is slightly down from our no new rate last year. The proposed M&O rate is the 374. It's 3% over the no new rate, not the full 3.5%. And debt service is going up to 0.2054. So on here, this shows that the proposed rate would generate $118,000. If we actually went all the way up to the voter approval rate, that would add an additional $177,000. Just a comparison. This is actually part of what goes in the notice. It's part of the requirement on the notice is comparing last year to this year, comparing last year's average homestead taxable value to this year's. So we were at 210, now we're at 226, and then applying the homestead exemption and how much of an increase that is from one year to the next. So this is just what gets put on the notice that will be put in the paper. So the city manager is recommending the 5794, same nominal rate as last year. This is what the numbers in the proposed budget are based on. It breaks down with the M&O rate of 374 and the INS rate of 0.2054. The city council has the ability to go all the way up to the voter approved rate of 59.56. And just to reiterate, the proposed, whatever you step out with, you can't adopt something greater than that. So the proposed is the maximum that you can go up. So these are your alternatives to discuss until we publish this and vote on this tonight. That will set that proposed tax rate.
Will you go back one page, please, Ms. Waldron? Why do you have it listed as 1315 plus 76?
Do what?
The second row.
I think it's just showing the change in the increments between all the different rates. So once we go from the no new revenue to the proposed, it adds 76. And then if we went all the way up to the voter approved, it would be another 37, so 113 total.
I got you. Okay.
It's a $76 increase.
For the
And
proposed.
an additional 37. So, if council adopts the recommended rate of 5794, that has a $76 impact on the.
Based on that average homestead.
Yeah, because that changed as well, right?
And that's what I was about to say. When I presented similar information, I was comparing this year's average valued property with last year's. And the way state law says we're supposed to post it isn't that way. We're comparing the same value year after year. So it's a little bit different.
Okay, so council, you'll recall that last year, what we did was adopt the rate that was the highest level we could go to without going to an election, to leave ourselves some flexibility, and because we're getting ready to have budget workshops. One of the things that was different about last year was City Manager Hoffman had been here 14 seconds when we were having to have this conversation. So this year he has developed the budget, and he's conveyed to me that he's comfortable with the tax rate that he's proposed in the budget. Again, we haven't had our budget workshop yet. So it's really up to us. The budget book that you have is based on keeping the rate flat at the 0.5794. But if you want a little room, if you think you're going to ask for some extra, tonight's the night. We can't decide next week we want some extra. But if we adopt the higher rate, we can always adopt the budget the way it is, and we can always go lower. We can't go higher. So and tonight's the decision night. So, Mr. Hoffman, is there anything you want to? Am I accurately?
Yeah, that was all accurate. I may want to add, and while I am recommending the budgeted rate of 5794, what you do with the notice, obviously you have the ability to go over that. And Mayor, you mentioned if council wants to add things to the budget, that would provide room for that. The council may also want to go to the voter-approved rate, irrespective of if you want to add stuff to the budget, just to bolster the ending balance. And as you might recall from looking at the fiscal forecast at the end of fiscal 24, according to current projections, we would be below the balance that our policy prescribes. Now, fiscal 24 is 2 budgets from now, and so a lot can change, and so I'm not suggesting we need to overreact to that, but in case you were concerned about that, you just wanted to, bolstering the balance might be reason itself to increase the rate.
Well, and we're coming off of 2020, so hats off to Ms. Waldron for her sales tax forecasting, but she's doing the very best she can, and I would expect her to be conservative, as is her nature and what we would expect. So that can influence in the out years as well. So, tax rates are complicated issues. I just want to make sure that council fully understands that we can come down, but we cannot go up, and tonight's the night. So, and it's easy to do, because as soon as you guys, and the truth is, it doesn't have to be those 2 rates. It's not .5794 or .5956. It can be anything in between. We can set whatever rate we want. That's what
just the highest you can
that's
get.
what the public will be noticed at, and then we can adopt the budget. We can set anything below that rate. Mayor Pro Tem Nelson?
Yeah, in looking at some of the preliminary numbers that have been provided to us and some of the discussions we've had, I truly believe the city manager has sharpened his pencil and really looked at the process and what the city's needs are for the upcoming fiscal year. And with that being said, I recommend approval of Resolution R 2021-76 and acknowledging the proposed tax rate, no new revenue tax rate, and the voter-approved tax rate, and call for the public hearing and authorize the public notice.
I will second.
I have a motion from Mayor Pro Tem Nelson and a second from Councilmember Peterson. For clarity, so everyone knows what they're voting on, your motion is the adopted rate of .5794.
That is correct.
Is there any further questions? Councilmember Jackson, do you have a question?
Okay, so what we're saying, or what the motion is not to go with a higher rate, which would give us some flexibility in case we needed to change something later on?
That's correct. The motion on the floor is .5794.
Okay, knowing that we could change that, we don't want to have any flexibility at all with that? Is that pretty much the consensus, I guess?
Well, we'll know when we vote. I have a motion and a second. Are you asking someone to reconsider their motion?
I'm just pointing out the obvious, the fact that it is lower, and we could do more, and we still have the flexibility to change it in the future. So that's just my point.
Is there any further discussion or questions? Madam Secretary, if you will call the roll, this motion and from Mayor Pro Tem Nelson and second by Councilmember Peterson is for the posted rate to be .5794. Madam Secretary?
Mayor Pro Tem Nelson?
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson?
Yes.
Councilmember Jackson?
Yes.
Councilmember Crouch?
Yes.
Councilmember Rogers?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Waldron. Now we know what we'll post for the public hearing. All right, Council, we'll move on to item 12B, consider action to approve resolution number R 2021-79 of the City Council of the City of Bastrop, Texas, confirming an appointment by the Mayor of Richard Smarsnick to place one on the Zoning Board of Adjustment as required in Section 3.08 of the city's charter and established as an effective date. Council, the reason that I am doing this out of order, because I know we are collecting applications now, is that we have some pending cases with the Zoning Board of Adjustment, and the alternate spaces are open, and we're trying to make sure that they have a full board so they can make a quorum for those hearings. That's why I made that recommendation, and I ask for your confirmation.
I move to approve.
I have a motion to approve from Councilmember Rogers,
Second.
and I have a second from Councilmember Peterson. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Crouch, do you have a question? Or are you just getting ready to vote? Okay. Madam Secretary, if you'll call the roll.
Councilmember Rogers?
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson?
Yes.
Councilmember Jackson?
Yes.
Councilmember Crouch?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Nelson?
Yes.
Council, thank you for that unanimous approval, and congratulations to Mr. Smarsnick, and I appreciate him agreeing to serve on the Zoning Board of Adjustment. Council, we're going to our last item for individual consideration, item 12C, consider action to approve resolution number R 2021-78 of the City Council of the City of Bastrop, Texas, to award a professional service contract to GrantWorks Incorporated for professional services for administering the American Rescue Plan Program, authorizing the city manager to execute all necessary documents, providing for a repealing clause, and establishing an effective date. Ms. Waldron.
Yeah, so this is very standard practice with grant-type funds. The American Rescue Plan is not really that different as far as how it's going to be administered. While we were waiting on the state of Texas to determine who is actually going to administer these funds, the recommendation was made to go ahead and start processing your procurement, and the administrative is the very first step. So we had 2 applicants, and GrantWorks was scored the highest, and so we're just asking y'all to approve them as our grant administrator.
Councilmember Rogers?
I move to approve.
I have a motion to approve from Councilmember Rogers.
Second.
Second from Mayor Pro Tem Nelson. Is there any further discussion? Madam Secretary, if you'll call the roll.
Councilmember Rogers?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Nelson?
Yes.
Councilmember Jackson?
Yes.
Councilmember Crouch,
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. We are on item 13. Councilmember Peterson?
Make a motion to adjourn.
It is 7:57. I have a motion to adjourn and a sec by Councilmember Peterson and a second by Councilmember Rogers. It is 7:57. We are adjourned. Please be careful going home and have a good evening.